scriptures, and I said to him, if we never broke the law or we never sinned, we wouldn't need atonement because Christ never broke the law, and he doesn't need an atonement, right?
Right. I think there's a New Testament passage that says that without the law there is no sin. You know what I mean? The law. Okay. What it means to sin is that if you transgress the law, that makes you a sinner. If you fall short of the mark. But there has to be something there where you can look at it and say, you know what? Okay, God wants me to do this, and I'm not doing it. Therefore, I'm a sinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there has to be that. Yeah.
Romans chapter 5. Yeah, Romans chapter 5.
Can I ask a question, G-Man?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Do you believe that the Torah is still valid and that we should still follow the laws in the first 5 books of the Bible?
I don't believe a Christian salvation is tied to the Torah. I believe that our salvation is tied to what Jesus Christ did. The only person that was able to keep the law was Christ. The Torah is relevant to the Christian in the sense of this. It serves as an example to us. We see God's heart there. Okay? We see what he likes and what he doesn't like. And if we see that he doesn't like something, you know what I mean, then we shouldn't be doing it. And Jesus summed it up like this. Okay? To love the Lord your, as a matter of fact, if you look at the whole Torah, it's summed up in these 2 things. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor the way you love yourself.
Hold up, let me get my light back on. That's why it went black.
All right. The law, the Torah, the law, the entire Old Testament is summed up in this: that we are to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and we are to love our neighbor the way we love ourselves. That's what Christians are supposed to focus on, not the letter of the law. Those who are focusing on the letter of the law, like the Hebrew Israelites, are going to be condemned because they're thinking the law is going to make them righteous before God. The only thing that's going to make you righteous before God is the sacrifice that Christ made on the cross.
What about Christians who don't follow to the letter, or don't think that salvation comes from following the letter of the law, but decide to do it anyway because they think that God will like that better? Or
if you read the book of Galatians, it'll tell you then what is Christ to you. I believe it's Galatians chapter 2. You don't need Christ if you're trying to be righteous yourself by following the law, right? Christ is none effect to you. You know what I mean?
Also,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say also Isaiah 64:6 says that our righteous deeds are like filthy rags to God, and the words for filthy rags there today would be used tampons. That's how our good deeds are to God. They mean nothing to him.
Yeah, you're never going to go to God and say, you should let me into heaven because I helped an old lady cross the street. Well, God's going to look at your motives and show you why they were evil. No, self-centered. It was selfish. And then it goes back to what Resolve said about what it says in Isaiah 64.
I think you sort of misunderstood my question. I was asking more about...
Are you reading something, Anthony? Is someone feeding you questions to the monitor?
No.
Okay.
Back when I...
I know. Listen, I've been doing this for a while, so I can tell when that's the case. But go ahead.
I'm actually on my phone.
Okay.
Back when I was a Christian, I was part of a very fundamentalist movement who believed that while salvation is through grace alone, that we should try to keep the law as well as we could, because I can't remember their reasoning.
You were going to a legalistic church where they're saying that you got to follow the letter of the law, and if you don't, then you're not going to be right with God. Again, that should never be your focus. If you read Galatians chapter 5, it talks, I think starting at verse 17, I think, where it talks about if you walk according to the Spirit, you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh, or you will not be sinning if you're walking according to the Spirit. Meaning you're hearing the Holy Spirit and you're doing what he's telling you to do. You're in God's word, God is abiding in you, and you're abiding in him.
Okay. Thanks for the opinion information.
Well, let me ask you something now, because you
Okay.
just asked me some questions. And I do this with all atheists. I am not picking on you. But from what I gather, you used to be a Christian, right?
Yes, I was my Christmas gift, no, birthday gift when I was 4 was a Bible, and when I was about 12, my parents got very fundamentalist.
Your parents got you a Bible when you were 4?
Yes.
I feel sorry for you, man. Personally, I would have got you G.I. Joe or Voltron or something. You know, maybe a toy you could have played with, but a Bible. I could have just let you borrow one of my Bibles or something like that. I don't think I would have did the same. But
I think they got me a toy as well, but that was definitely when my first Bible was given to me.
how long have you been an atheist? Are you a new atheist?
In the term of new atheists versus old atheists,
No, not that, not that.
But
I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about. Have you recently become an atheist?
I was pretty skeptically starting to doubt when I was about 16, and I sort of came out of the closet as an atheist when I turned 18 because I knew that if I got kicked out of my parents' house, I'd be okay in the world.
How old were you when you became a Christian? According to your testimony, you being a Christian, how old were you?
Well, I considered myself to be raised a Christian up until I was about 8 when I got baptized and I actually accepted Jesus into my heart.
You were baptized when you were 8?
Yes.
Were you going to a Pentecostal church?
I believe so. I was going to an Assembly of God church.
Oh, God. Okay. I feel sorry for you, man. I really feel your pain. But they shouldn't have did that. They oh, Lord. Oh. But anyway, I'll save my opinion about that for another day.
Yeah, if you grew up in the church, man, you need to be born again. To be honest, I know a lot of there's a lot of people that were raised in church that fall away because they were raised in church. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be raised in church. What I'm saying is the Christians with the most zeal, or the Christians with the strongest held beliefs that I've spoken to, have been either former atheists or, like myself, former doubter, skeptical people who never really committed in the first place and then became Christian.
Yeah, and the purpose of me asking you about what kind of Christian you was and everything and whatnot. How old are you?
I'm 18. I'll be 19 next month.
Okay. So why are you an atheist?
Because I just all the evidence that has been shown to me has been weak, and it actually hasn't been evidence. It's been unsubstantiated claims.
All right, let me ask you a question. And I understand that. I get that. All right. When you as a Christian, how do you please God?
How do I please God?
Yeah. How do you please Him as a Christian? I mean, is it by evidence or is it by faith?
Well, yes, it's by faith. I know the songs, and it says, I can't remember.
I know where it's in 1 Corinthians. Yeah. 1 Corinthians chapter, I believe 15. For without faith it is impossible to please God. For he that cometh unto God must believe that He is, and He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. Okay. Okay. So if faith is the way to get to know God and to test God and to have this relationship with God, why all of a sudden you want evidence for Him if you already believe that He existed?
Because I learned how to reason, and I think that reason is... I'm not doing very well in this conversation. If you have another one later on, I'll probably be doing better because I just worked out and stuff. So
no, I understand that. I go to the gym just like you. And I'm not trying to put you on the line or nothing like that, but it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to put no words in your mouth, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. But it sounded like when you was a Christian, you said that you didn't know how to reason. You didn't know how to think for yourself.
I think that when you're younger, you naturally don't have that reasoning ability. You are more likely to put together things that don't belong together. You're more likely just to believe people because they're your elders or whatever. And as I got older, I don't think it was a result of being a Christian that I didn't know how to reason. I think it was a result of being so young.
Okay, so let me ask you one more question then. And I'm willing to accept that. Okay. One little problem though, as an atheist, do you think that you're not okay? Are you guilty of doing the same things that you was doing as a Christian now that you're trusting science?
Am I guilty of doing the same things I have formerly been guilty of doing?
Yeah. Are you guilty of believing things by faith and not by evidence? As a person that trusts science now.
I'm still guilty of it to a certain extent because I haven't gotten rid of that habit quite, but I am working towards a more evidence-based approach to life.
Okay, so evolution. So the theory of evolution, and let me define what I'm talking about. Chemical evolution, planetary and stellar evolution, biological evolution, macro evolution. From where I stand as a free thinker, you know, as a person that can think for myself, who's able to reason and all these things, I don't see any evidence for evolution. But do you believe in evolution? And if you do, the evolution that I just explained, do you have evidence for that is true? Because if you don't, then you have to admit that you have a faith in evolution.
I wouldn't define evolution in the Kent Hovind terms that you just used. I would define it as an explanation of speciation over time of already living beings. It doesn't. My definition and the scientific definition of evolution isn't anything about the cosmos. It isn't anything about how life originated. It's after life came about.
Right, right. So just a couple of questions here, because I want to prove that you have a faith in this, okay? Let's start off with the Big Bang, because that happened before before evolution happened, right? Where did the matter come from that eventually expanded to create the universe? Where did that matter come from?
I don't have.
And by the way, it has to be something that can be tested with the scientific method.
I don't have an answer for that, so I don't have an opinion on that quite yet.
Okay, so then let's fast forward to evolution. We'll get to you in a minute, Doug. Let's fast forward to evolution then, right? According to the theory of evolution, Earth was this molten hot place or whatever, right? Ground was like molten rock, and it rained for millions of years. Created this soup, this complex soup with these complex chemicals, and that's apparently where life originated from this complex soup of chemicals and whatnot. Do you believe that?
Hold on.
No, that's incorrect.
Wait a minute. I'm talking to Anthony right now. I'll get to you in a minute, okay? Do you believe that, Anthony?
Abiogenesis is what I assume you're referring to, and I don't know.
No, it's not abiogenesis. It's evolution.
Evolution is after life already originated. Evolution is speciation after life already existed.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because the first life form came from this soup. Life came from non-life. Life came from non-life. Have you ever once in your entire life seen life come from non-life with your own two eyes?
Life from non-life is a different issue than evolution. And also,
have you seen life come from non-life? Yes or no?
I might remind you that the conditions of the Earth where life was supposed to come from non-life is rather different than the conditions of the Earth now.
Hey, G-Man, can I add
my question? I'm sorry. I'm almost done with them. So, did you see it with your eyes? Did you observe it? Have you tested this over and over again using the scientific method to prove that life comes from non-life? Yes or no?
No, I have not seen or proven anything, but abiogenesis is a different issue from evolution. This much.
Yeah, me and you are not that far apart because I've never physically seen God, never touched God, but I have faith that He exists. You have faith that life can come from non-life. We're not a whole lot that different. We're not a whole lot different. So I have to go back. Wait a minute, guys. One at a time. Wait a minute. One at a time. You guys got to stop all that background noise. Me and you are not a whole lot different, okay? I believe by faith that God exists. You believe by faith that life can come from non-life, okay? So earlier when you were talking about being able to reason and think for yourself and all that stuff and whatnot,
okay,
and you were insulting yourself because you said that you wasn't able to do the same thing when you were younger when you clearly could. I don't know who convinced you of that, but I hope this brief conversation that we have, this very brief one, will at least get you to think a little bit that that you do have a faith as an atheist. And your faith, one of them anyway, there's a whole bunch of them, but one of your faiths is that you believe that life comes from non-life. You've never seen it, but you believe it, and you trust your new prophets, the scientists, in their claims that life comes from.
I never said that.
I know you didn't. That's my conclusion based on this conversation that we're having right now.
You know, get somebody with actual, like, you know, confidence in what they believe before you start.
Okay. Okay, Random's here. We can talk to Random. Random.
What I'm saying is, I typed in the side chat, life from non-life can apply to both abiogenesis and creationism, but not without intelligence. So you can't say life didn't have any intelligence behind it, if you know what I'm saying. So what I'm saying, now, life from non-life, of course, God created life from non-life. He created Adam out of the dust. But it took intelligence to do that.
I'll take it a step further. I believe this idea that life comes from non-life, according to the theory of evolution or abiogenesis, whatever they want to, whatever it would be called tomorrow. You know what I mean? I think that's a pseudoscience. It's not real science. It cannot back it by the scientific method, by the definition of pseudoscience. So Random's going to go next. Random's going to go next, and then we'll let somebody else go. Go ahead, Random, because you had a problem with what I said.
You keep conflating abiogenesis and evolution together. They're not the same.
Well,
abiogenesis is how life began.
The assumption is that if you believe in evolution, you have to have an origin for evolution, which is abiogenesis.
Yeah, and atheists like to run away from the origin question.
Hold on.
And then just go into the the small changes, and then just talk about the small changes that happen over a long period of time that you can't verify either. Go ahead.
What I was saying was, life started somehow. We don't know how. And just because we can't answer that question doesn't mean you win, to quote David Smalley.
So why should I believe in evolution if you can't tell me the origin of life?
Evolution doesn't deal with the origin. Evolution is how life changes.
Wait a minute. And
well,
wait a minute. And the fact that you can't answer the question, isn't that the same gripe that atheists have against Christians? When we're asked to give...
What question?
No, let me expose
what question am I not answering?
Let me show you something right here, okay? Is the fact that we have to provide this demonstrable and empirical evidence, basically have a meal with you, and basically hold something impossible, like hold a dead star to convince you that he's... When we start asking difficult questions regarding the origin of life and the diversity of life, and we constantly get this I don't know stuff, then you're unfairly coming after us for our belief in God. That's all I'm saying.
Just because we can't answer certain questions because we don't know doesn't mean that God necessarily did it.
Right.
Right, but... Yes, but you guys could also...
Your answer is correct.
But you could also charge Charles Darwin with conflating the two, since he wrote a book called The Origin of Species and didn't give an origin.
He didn't say origin of life. He said origin of species. So
that's the name of the book.
The origin of species, yes. How species change and evolve on this planet.
How they originated, not changed.
It's not how life originated, it's how species originated. And speciation is the differences in different organisms.
So if you write a book called The Origin of Species, and then you don't give an origin, you just give how species have changed since they've originated, that's not the same thing.
And my thing is why trust the scientists if they can't give you straight answers about stuff? That's the same gripe that you guys are giving us about God. You know, you ask us certain questions about this, and we can't give you a satisfactory answer. Therefore, it justifies your atheism. But when we start asking certain questions about science, and you guys don't got answers, we're still supposed to become evolutionists. We're still supposed to become you guys. No, it don't work that way. You got to provide evidence. If you want evidence from us, we want evidence from you.
You've talked about biology.
We want the same evidence you want for God. And we want the same evidence. Since you're talking about scientists and the fact that you have your scientific method and that you something that you can observe, you see with your eyes, and test over and over and over again. That's why you guys are constantly running from this origin of life thing. You guys know full well that life doesn't come from non-life, and if it doesn't, your evolution theory goes down the toilet.
See, there you go again, talking about how life starts. That's not evolution.
I didn't say where life starts.
You just did.
You believe that the diversity of life.
Let me ask you a simple question. Hey, wait, let me ask a simple question real quick. I was gonna ask, give me one example of biological evolution that is observable today.
I have one.
Who's that for?
Go ahead.
I don't know if that's a good question. I don't know if that's a good question, because all they gotta do is say one baby.
Do you look different from your parents?
Yeah, that's not a good question. You got to define what you mean by that.
What about the different breeds?
Because there's micro evolution, and then there's macro evolution.
An advantage. Can you show an advantage that has evolved? Like, for instance, let me give you an example. If we used to have tails, for example, as something, and now we don't, that would be a disadvantage to lose something so helpful. Or
No.
can you name an advantage? I think is what he was saying, that some species has evolved that will help adaptation or evolution process.
Well, like, intelligence has increased. Like, if you look at millions of years ago, think about, like, the Neanderthals and how, like, basically they would be considered retarded in today's standards.
Yeah, but
have you ever
it's
seen
not.
a Neanderthal? Have you ever seen one before, Doc?
People though.
There are millions of bones.
Okay, yeah, you're right. There are millions of bones. There are chicken bones, cow bones. The bone I just got finished eating when I ate my chicken earlier, but that doesn't mean that they were Neanderthals. So have you ever seen a Neanderthal? And by the way, fossils don't prove evolution. So please don't go there. All right. So
Okay. What about?
I typed my question in the side chat. Can we observe evolution happening in a lab right now in real time?
yes. Oh God. Neo, you got to define what you're talking about, because if the right person comes in here, they're gonna say yes, and I know what they're gonna say.
Well, I know they're going to talk about HRVs and I'm sorry, bacteria.
You gotta say macro evolution.
But
macro.
G-Man.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
You believe in microevolution, which is small changes over a small amount of time.
Yeah,
right?
because you know why?
Because we can
You
observe
can see them. You can see them. What about the ones that people are claiming are happening that you can't see?
Yeah, by the way, that's not microevolution. To creationists, it's called adaptation and variation within a species.
And
Evolution is just another word of for adaptation.
Those small changes, they build up over time and then make completely different species.
Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, you're asserting that.
That's a
Quoting,
Have you ever seen it?
quoting you, have you ever seen a canine turn into a non-canine? No, I have not. No, but I have.
Therefore, macroevolution doesn't work.
There are canines turning into, not turning,
Right.
but like offspring,
Wait a minute.
different forms of canines.
Okay. So let's talk about the
How do
offspring
you
then.
define evolution?
Wait a minute. Guys, hold on a minute. The fire hosing, okay? Let's talk about the canine thing and whatnot, so that you fully understand what I mean by that, okay? According to macroevolution, a kind would eventually become another kind. I don't use that word species because that's nonsense, okay? There are 14 different definitions for species. When I say
no
kind, I mean
scientific
a canine,
definition for kinds.
or a canine becoming a feline, or a canine becoming a fish, or something like that. And don't tell me that doesn't happen in evolution, because if you do, you don't know what you're talking about, and I can prove it.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Oh, it doesn't?
No. It is actually the change in alleles and chromosomes and stuff like that.
Oh, it changed the chromosome. Oh, you're going to use a chromosome argument with me. I'm glad you brought that up, because I got my notes here for the Amazing Atheist, and that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Get off the chromosome thing, because that ain't going to work. Or I got a funny one for that one. But anyway, but listen.
I didn't say chromosome.
To prove to you to prove to you that a dog does become a non-dog over a long period of time, and I mean over millions and millions and millions and millions of years. You believe that you evolved from a single-cell organism, right? Started from a rock, actually. Then it became a single-cell organism.
No,
And then from a single-cell organism, wait a minute, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, let me finish. Single-cell organism to a multi-cell organism to a fish-like creature. And eventually, this fish-like creature came out the water and became all these different creatures. Okay? That is not... Wait. Hold on a minute. And it eventually became something that wasn't a fish no more. That's my entire point. I don't have to say dog becoming a non-dog. I can say a fish becoming a non-fish, a bird becoming a non-bird, a cat becoming a non-cat. According to the theory of macroevolution, according to the theory of macroevolution, you believe... Well, can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
According to the theory of macroevolution, a dog is eventually, over millions of years, over all these tiny changes that's going to happen over a long period of time, is going to become something that is not a canine no more.
Correct.
Okay? If you don't believe that, then you don't believe in evolution. Go ahead.
Just a few generations. It's going to happen over millions of years, like you said.
And where's your evidence for that? You've never seen it. It's a faith that you have. Go ahead, Blood.
Okay, I was just going to say, like, you're saying that one kind will just birth out another kind. Is that what you think, or... That's
exactly what happens. Actually, it does birth out another kind.
About monkeys.
No.
Don't go to a black man's face and say you have a monkey ape common ancestor. I'll bet they'll knock you out.
Right.
So you just walk up to somebody on the street, you'll get knocked out.
So the point I'm making, number one, it's impossible for a mutation to happen in the womb. Okay, to the level that macroevolution is the same. And macroevolution is the same. Okay, a dog is not going to give birth to a cat or a cat-like creature or a bird-like creature or anything like that, because that's what macroevolution is claiming at the end of the day. They're claiming that these mutations are going to happen in the womb, and that they're going to give birth to something over a long period of time. That is the claim.
It's not only mutations. What happens also is, like, let's say you have two families of the same species. One has a lot of physical empowerments, and the other is very weak and fragile. Over time, the weaker ones are going to die out because they can't survive. The stronger ones are going to give their genes to make even more stronger offspring, and that keeps happening. That's also how it works. There are multiple.
I understand the process and how it works, so you just can't prove it. And
you
can't observe it. And you can't observe it. You've never seen a dog giving birth to a cat or a bird or a canary or anything like that. Actually, one of the funniest theories, I know it's funny, you can laugh all you want, but one of the funniest theories about evolution that I'm hearing these days are people saying that dinosaurs evolved into birds. I think that's hilarious, that a T-Rex would become a canary or a woodpecker or something like that over a long period of time. That is nonsense.
No.
Why is it nonsense?
Why? Because you have no evidence for that. You've never seen it happen.
Well, can I ask the atheists a question, or the non-believers? Say that there was a bird-like species, and you believe that something else evolved from it. Now, isn't having wings one of the greatest adaptations that you could have? And let me just ask, why would losing wings to the next species be an evolutionary advantage? I just always wondered.
How is it an advantage to have wings in rural society?
One at a time.
You can go ahead.
I said, how is it an advantage to have wings in a rural society?
If I had wings right now, I wouldn't have to have a vehicle. I mean, think about it. I could fly south for the winter.
You could
all
get hit
kind
by
of advantages.
You could get hit by a plane on your way to work.
Yeah, but you also have to have hollow bones in order to have wings.
Yeah, I'm saying that you guys are saying that certain animals have evolved and lost their wings, like we've lost our so-called tails or whatever. I'm saying, why would those things be lost? Say that I was carrying groceries, a tail would be useful, or if I had wings would be so useful and it'd be an advantage.
No.
They might not
I
be a
think you
detriment, though.
misunderstand the purpose of
And
tails.
actually, you know what? It's not. Whoever said hollow bones.
Wait a minute, guys, hold on a minute. The purpose of bringing up evolution to begin with was to show that the atheist community, the scientific community, has just as much faith as a Christian does, because there are many parts of this evolutionary theory that you cannot see with your own eyes, okay? That you believe is going to happen over a long period of time that you've never seen. It isn't something that you can test with the scientific method. So you can't get on me about having faith. If Aaron Raw was in this room right now, I would get on his case and say, you can't get on me for having faith that God created the heavens and the earth, and then you turn around and believe that over a long period of time I'm going to evolve into the Man of Steel or something like that.
You see the laws of physics.
G-Man, may I say something?
Sure.
You just mentioned that if Aaron Raw was in this room, that you would basically trample on his ideas and say that you wouldn't be able to say that he had faith, or...
No, that ain't what I said.
Can you restate yourself?
Okay.
Because
if Aaron Raw was... Okay, first of all, Aaron Raw is famous for saying that faith is not a good thing, it's a bad thing, right? So if Aaron Raw was here right now, I would tell Aaron Raw to his face that he has just as much faith as I do, because there's a lot of things that goes on with this so-called theory of evolution that he claims is going to happen in the future or already happened in the past, and he can't prove it. He can't prove it with the scientific method. He can't even prove it with a sound logical argument.
Okay, so...
There's nothing...
Dude, you're sounding like a robot.
I'm saying that Aaron Raw has just as much faith. I'm saying that Aaron Raw has just as much faith as I do. That's what I would say to Aaron Raw if he was in here.
Hold on.
I would say that Aaron Raw would be able to debate you better than I would, because he's a lot more confident on the subject and he knows a lot more than I do.
I would say that debate will never happen because DPR has him on a leash and he doesn't do anything without DPR's permission. That's what I would say. It's never going to happen. And I would destroy Aaron Raw in a debate on evolution. I'm convinced of that. Because Aaron Raw is the only atheist, and I mean the only atheist on YouTube, that makes claim after claim after claim after claim after claim without providing any evidence whatsoever. I've never seen somebody make so many claims and never provide any evidence. And you guys will see what I mean when I upload my video about him.
No, G-Man, I definitely say that's inaccurate. See, basically what he's presented in the past is that only accurate information has practical application. And he shows you that if you use, the evolutionary theory, biology, it produces accurate results whenever you try to make a prediction. That's a lot of the evidence he's presented. Now, if you don't adhere to that and say that it's just a coincidence, I could understand that, but still, it's not necessarily what he said.
No, I would just say that Aaron needs to spend a little bit more time giving us reasons why we should believe him. I'm not going to believe nobody just because they said it. Even the Bible. I read the Bible, and a lot of you may be shocked when you hear me say this. It's just because God says that stealing is wrong doesn't mean that I believe that stealing is wrong. First of all, I see what stealing does to other people, what lying does to other people, what adultery does to other people. I see what it does. It harms other people.
Yeah,
love
exactly.
involved.
That's a good point. Like you have a besides that, besides your faith in God, you also have a conscience that'll basically guide you in your moral decisions. So, that makes sense.
I believe that God's law is written on my heart, and I have a conscience. Yes, I agree with you there. But I know why those things are wrong. I mean, it's like I'm not walking around here going, I think lying's wrong because God.
No.
I thought it was
G-Man, we pretty much all agree with you on that point. You're not doing that.
Yeah. So I can think just like the next person. And again, Anthony, I want to say to you that before you became an atheist, you was able to think critically for yourself, and you was able to reason for yourself. I don't know who told you that lie, saying that when you was a Christian that you couldn't. But you need to think back in the days when you was a so-called theist or whatever, and think about some of the logical decisions that you made as a person. I can assure you, a lot of the arguments that we see coming out of the atheist community is not logical at all, man. It's just like, where are you getting this from? That's what we're thinking.
Hey, G-Man, if you had a least favorite atheist argument, what would it be? I don't think you've ever said that. That's probably a hard one, but go ahead.
That's a good question.
I could give you mine. I love how atheists always appeal to science, and then you say, well, what is, they may not understand it. And if saying I don't know is a fine answer for me, but they appeal to science for everything. Like, for instance, they always say, the God of the Bible is impossible. He cannot exist. And I'll say, why? And they'll say, because of science. And I'll say, well,
Who
what
said
about
that?
science?
Well,
I
no.
And I would
I've
say,
never
and
heard
I would
anyone say
say,
that.
and I would say the dumbest argument that I think I've heard come out of the atheist community is God is immoral, therefore he doesn't exist. I mean, seriously, there are people that argue
I've never heard that
nonsense.
argument actually.
Oh no! It's out there. Trust me. I've had people come in.
I've never
numerous
heard
times.
either of
Can I
them.
say
Why would
something?
you want to worship a
Rick,
God who condones slavery and rape? But if he isn't real, how does he condone anything?
This assumes that God exists, but is more of a mesotheistic claim than it is atheistic claim, I believe.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what
you
I
might
was
be
gonna
right
say.
about that. You might be right about that, but that is the dumbest argument I've heard. And believe me, I know a lot of people on YouTube using that. You know.
And
I don't see that as much an argument against God, but more of an argument against like the moral.
It's an argument
beliefs of
for
the
God, by the
followers.
way. It's an argument for God. That's why it's so stupid. Because he would have to exist to condone anything. You know what I mean? So.
Well, it's not an argument for God. It's presuming that God exists, and then it's an argument against his morality, I believe.
How many of you seen Veckel's new video?
I don't really
seen
follow
it.
his channel, sadly.
You guys gotta watch Veckel's channel, Veckel's video. Veckel made a video catching DPR, saying that you guys gonna love this. That when Noah got off the ark, that his sons caught him masturbating. He said this was in the Bible. You got to see the video. It's hilarious. DPR exposed himself as a complete dimwit. You gotta see it. You gotta see it.
It's called Why is Exegesis Important?
It's hilarious. It's good comedy. Because it shows he never read the Bible before. And he actually tried to get on, I don't know if it was Mac or whoever was in the room, in Nadia's room at the time, but one of them was trying, he was trying to get on one of them for not reading the Bible. And I was like, I listened to this and I was like, that's not in scripture. And that's why everybody was laughing at him so hard. It was hilarious. And I think he was drunk too when he said it, just to get DPR an excuse. I think he was drinking. So, and when people drink, they tend to say a lot of stupid stuff. So.
I agree with you on that, G-Man.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, G-Man. G-Man, I had a bit of a question about someone. Well, what do you think about them? Do you think Jungle Jargon is a drunk? Because, I mean, he always sounds like he's on something whenever he's trying to argue something. I don't know. He might just sort of have a slow, manner of speech. But I wanted to know what you thought about that.
I don't really watch Jungle Jargon. I haven't seen none of his stuff. So
I've
I
never
couldn't
heard
tell
of
you.
it.
Hey, G-Man, you
heard
can't
of it
make
either.
that claim. It's ignorant. It's expanding fabrication. You can't say
No,
that,
no.
man.
I know him. I talked to him for a while the other night. He's a competent guy. I mean, he
Okay,
I don't
yeah.
think so.
No, well, it's not like I'm trying to slander him, but I mean, I'm not trying to insult him or anything. He just, I'm sorry to say this, but he sounds a bit drunk when he's talking.
It may just be his speech. I'm not sure.
No, Jungle Jargon's a cool guy. Trust me. I would go out and I don't know, celebrate New Year's or something like that with him. I mean, he's that cool.
Oh, sure, yeah. Now that we're at an impasse, could I ask the non-believers another question, if you don't mind, G-Man?
Sure, go ahead. Sure.
Okay. In this, my questions are honest. I really like to know what you think. Darwin wrote a letter to a man named Mr. Graham and asked if our thoughts are the process, are the end result of evolving from lower, what I would characterize as monkeys' minds, or why would we trust what they say? What do you guys think?